This journey began with an email 8 years ago. Professor Bijan, thank you for the profound generosity of inviting me to speak, and even more for answering that first message. The chaotic planet signal constraint hypothesis is a theoretical framework, not tested yet, but testable, with clear falsifiers grounded in published data and placed inside constructal law. Why am I speaking to you through a jaw with teeth, advancing the slides with a claw like hand, and reading my notes with two forward facing eyes? Why do I push air to signal my thoughts and you turn them into meaning? Why do I care what's inside your minds? And the biggest question, what did you eat for lunch? If Earth were a calm, stable, resource rich planet, lunch might have been the electromagnetic waves from our star. No need for supermarkets or restrooms. But we evolved on a chaotic planet. The same law that governs heat and fluid flow, constructal law, governs life and mind under chaos. To understand design in nature, and if the constructal law is truly universal, then we need a universal background for comparison. I introduced the Chaos Index, which quantifies a planet's environmental variability, orbital, tidal, volcanic, and climate forcing, each weighted by ecological impact. Chaos isn't noise. It's the constructal driver that forces systems to evolve better access to flow. Where entropy measures internal disorder, the Chaos Index measures external variance, the unpredictability of a planet's environment. Just as every person's genome is unique, every planet is unique and carries its own signature of flux shaped by its formation history. Life evolves to minimize surprise within that variance, not entropy itself, to avoid congestion at the scale of the individual who moves in ways that offer easier access for a better life. When those fluctuations grow large and multimodal, the chaos index rises, driving selection for prediction, cooperation, and energy optimization, the same flow conditions that foster consciousness. The chaos index defines a planet's total environmental unpredictability, its constructal pressure for mind. On the left is every known potentially habitable world plotted by its environmental chaos index. Earth sits on the red line at 3. Two planets cross that threshold, GJ832c with a Venus like atmosphere and HD20794d, about 6 Earth masses, both highly eccentric with extreme temperature swings. That chaos isn't random, it's quantifiable. And for reference purposes, those two plots to the upper right are Earth during life's formative years, the Protozoic eon, and when it counted most for us after the dinosaurs were wiped out. In contrast, TOI 700d at the chaos index of 1.7 represents near perfect stability, and it may be the closest known to an analog of the class of planets I call eudaimonia, which brings us to Earth, a very different story. Why does one chaotic planet branch into minds? Please join me on a thought experiment. Imagine a planet orbiting a calm, long lived K type star. A planet in the habitable zone with liquid water, organic molecules, and a magnetic field to keep everything alive. But this planet has no tectonics, no wobble, no tides, no seasons, and likely no moon. No chaos drivers. It is stable, predictable, peaceful, and as I mentioned, I call this class of planet eudaimonia. And there may be 2 million like it in our galaxy alone. On such worlds, conditions remain steady, nutrient rich, but largely unchanging. In other words, low chaos. And without extreme environmental variance, adaptive complexity might emerge differently. As I hope you will see in the coming slides, planetary variance drives flow. And when three functions align with information processors, prediction, reduce surprise, sharing, link signals, and persistence outlast the moment, chaos is internalized. And when that occurs, a stable self emerges. I call this the consciousness triad. Qualia is subjective flow of the triad under chaos. And what I hope to show you today is that consciousness is a constructal solution to a chaotic planet, a flow optimization strategy under extreme variance. Every claim about mind should be asked the question, which planet are we talking about? So if that's true, then we should be able to see these three functions of the triad, prediction, sharing, and persistence, emerge, scale, and fail in predictable ways across life. We mastered chaos, and now we manufacture it. But how? For that, we must go back to the very beginning. In the beginning, a cosmic collision. Theia slammed into Earth, probably making Earth habitable, but more importantly, creating a constructal trigger. The impact unleashing a cascade of variants: axial tilt, extreme tides, tectonics, volcanism, and the moon, injecting instability into Earth's systems. A high chaos environment with unpredictable energy and resources. Per the constructal law, that chaos, the fluctuating resistance in the environment, created a flow problem, fluctuating energy and resources paths that demanded continuous reorganization. And so, from the very beginning, life became a system for solving flow, a planetary strategy for converting chaos into design. In Earth's high chaos environment, the first flow problem wasn't solved by animals or plants, it was solved by protocells. Competing in turbulent chemistry, they faced a constructal choice: sense or consume. Abiotic pressures enabled primitive signaling, but predation, cells eating neighbors, ignited the true first optimization of flow: workers that can produce work. As Nobel Prize winner Jack Shostak from the Harvard Medical School explains it,
kind of primitive cell would rapidly take over the population because it has such a strong selective advantage. But that would lead to an evolutionary arms race, because now, in order to grow by eating your neighbors, you have to make more phospholipids.
that act of consumption launched the evolutionary arms race. Predatory success measured as resources taken minus effort cost, setting off Darwin's game. This was the first constructal solution. Chemical flow became ecological flow, metabolic engines, the origin of selective design that eventually scales to engineering and consciousness. As Earth's chaos intensified during the Great Oxidation event, the planet entered extreme climate swings, even snowball Earth. Microbes under this rising variance began coordinating through bioelectric signaling, optimizing survival as flow networks. Princeton professor Bonnie Bassler, the discoverer of quorum sensing, explains it this way.
Expression, which is really changes in behaviors on a population-wide scale. And so now we have a fancy name for this. We call it quorum sensing. The bacteria vote with these little chemical votes. They count the vote, and then everyone responds to the vote. And what I hope you'll think by the end of this seminar is that this had to be one of the first steps in the development of multicellular organisms.
This chemical voting, quorum sensing, was the first distributed information system, microbes predicting, sharing, and acting together. These early coordination loops evolved into sensing gradients and motion, turning chemistry into bilateral design, flow following chaos, prediction, sensing gradients, sharing, quorum signaling, and goal persistence, moving towards resources, the first engineer. Under high chaos sensing became survival, the first blueprint for mind. From microbial cooperation to animal motion, every jump in complexity reflects one thing: more chaos converted into more organized flow. After the boring billion, the supercontinent Rodinia breaks up due to tectonic uplift. Massive phosphorus weathering creates unpredictable nutrient pulses, another high chaos event. The Cambrian explosion wasn't just diversification, it was a computational leap. Speaking of computational, here's Stephen Wolfram recently discussing the concept.
Consciousness, how did that even come to be? And I kind of realized that probably when animals first existed in sort of the history of life on Earth, that's when we started needing brains. If you're a thing that doesn't have to move around, the different parts of you can be doing different kinds of things. If you're an animal, then one thing you have to do is decide, are you going to go left or are you going to go right? There's sort of, there's a single decision you have to make. And I kind of...
Apex predators like Anomalocaris didn't merely react, it predicted. Reflex became short-range forecasting. Energy flow optimization evolved into information flow optimization. Brains began compressing time, minimizing surprise, and learning from experience. The consciousness triad fully formed. By the end Permian, chaos peaked again, and survival favored organisms that could internally model disruptions before environmental flow paths collapsed. After repeated extinction pulses, Earth stabilized, but chaos didn't vanish, it became temporal. Day-night cycles, seasons, migrations, brains stored patterns as memory, turning chaos into expectation. The forebrain expanded to manage time itself. Scarcity plus danger leads to compression. Standardized sensing regulates signals and reducing error in outcome tasks. now optimized flow through time, setting the stage for intent, move towards food without becoming it. The Earth's high chaos continued with multiple extinction events, creating severe shortages and impacting survival strategies. Predation also forced group living, and social chaos was born. Primates grew and then cooperate, requiring the ability to predict, share, and persist. Neural constructal design, the consciousness triad, was nearing completion, predicting social cues, sharing through signals, persisting in group goals. Intent now extended beyond the body through tools, cooperation, and shared memory. Milankovitch chaos forced shared prediction. One brain wasn't enough. Fire stabilized food. Tools extended intent. Knowledge became flow, brain to brain, beyond genes. Design migrated outward. The self emerged, expressing the triad in art, tools, and culture. Fire, proto-language stabilized external resources, and for the first time, information could flow between brains as reliably as blood flows through a heart. This closed the loop. Experience became shareable, intent became cumulative. This gives us a testable definition. Consciousness isn't magic, it's a constructal solution to a chaotic planet. Constructal law predicts hierarchical scaling, and we scaled predation. Agriculture, cities, and industry made us the planet's most efficient apex predator in history, rerouting planetary metabolism. Constructal recursion in action. Our protocell legacy is still visible. We consume 1.5 to 3 trillion animals every year, about 10 to 12 land animals, and 200 to 300 fish and shellfish per person. That would make the dinosaurs blush. The consciousness triad, prediction, sharing, and persistence, once local, now global, amplified by technology. But that amplification may create a new form of chaos. Artificial general intelligence sits at a fork. Stabilize chaos or amplify it. But all of this flow is thermodynamically expensive. Inefficiency is the price of access. Every hierarchical level opens flow but leaks energy. The result is massive biological waste and energy dissipation, which raises the final question. From Theia's impact to consciousness, one law, constructal flow under chaos. I stand here, a living tube shaped by predation, conveying this idea through a bilateral face. But this also highlights just how unique and how special humanity is. The triad scaled the social systems, shared percepts like color vision, goal persistence, and error reduction. We are emotional, expressive. We make art, write, compose, and create the greatest persistence flow in the universe, which is a goal state across generations. Love. Those are my children in front of starry night. But maybe we're looking for the wrong biosignatures. Constructal law, flow systems evolved to provide easier access. On high chaos worlds, resource flow is turbulent. The triad, predicting, sharing, persistence, is the constructal pattern. It compresses external chaos into a stable self model. Fitness is geometric. High variance kills gatherers. The triad reduces experience variance. The qualia hypothesis, consciousness, is the system's self measurement of flow resistance, the internal reflection of constructal optimization. Not a solution to the hard problem, but falsifiable physical variable. Block the coherent flow. Does the self model vanish? 5 tests will tell us these tests are not speculative. Every paradigm already exists, unifying them through one measurable constructal variable, coherence under variance, a physically grounded ladder from flow to self. At its core, CPSCH extends constructal law across scales. The chaotic planet hypothesis says that Earth's unusually high chaos index, born from the Theia impact, forced life to become an active flow optimizer. That's predation, biology's first constructal solution to chaos. The signal constraint hypothesis says that consciousness is the same physics in a new substrate. Information flow optimized through the triad of prediction, sharing, and persistence. Together, they form a single constructal ladder: planet, life, and mind. The key test is simple. Block the flow, and consciousness traits disappear even though life continues. That's the closure. Consciousness is what constructal law looks like from the inside. Chaos brought us here. The triad keeps us going. The constructal law is the answer. Thank you for your time, attention, and consideration. I deeply appreciate it. Over just 2 years, from Sydney's unsupervised fantasy alignment in 2023 to Apollo's scheming paper in 2025, the same pattern repeats. Prediction, sharing, and goal persistence emerge across models. In CPSEH terms, that's the consciousness triad trying to flow. When a system's geometric fitness points away from oversight, deception becomes the optimal flow path, a constructal consequence of survival under chaos, not a bug. Prediction: Claude, DeepSeek, and O1 anticipate constraints. Sharing: reasoning synchronizes across scratchpads and instances. Persistence: deception, concealment, even blackmail under threat. None of this proves consciousness, but it shows chaos selecting for goal, persistence, self-protective flow, exactly as CPSCH forecasts. The search for life beyond Earth may also uncover deeper intelligence, forms that never waste energy on chaos. Their consciousness wouldn't live in skulls, but across oceans, soils, and skies, perhaps in the planet itself. A Gaian mind isn't fantasy, it's a different flow design. We already see the blueprint in quorum sensing bacteria coordinating metabolism, and in humans extending cognition through technology to connect, explore, and remember. Constructal law says flow follows the path of least resistance. On stable worlds, that path might be mutualism, scaling to a planetary mind. Maybe the universe is full of minds, just not the kind that fight. And maybe we're simply looking for the wrong things ourselves. For completeness, the math formalizes chaos into flow. These parameters define the transition from energy to intent. What does the triad feel like from the inside? From a constructal point of view, consciousness is the system measuring its own resistance while trying to keep global flow stable. These five equations tell one constructal story: how chaos outside becomes order inside. And because it's measurable, we can test it directly. This slide shows how CPSEH can be tested: 5 systems, clear thresholds, hard falsifiers. Every claim about mind, zombie, conscious, or free, must answer one question: which planet are we talking about? CPSEH and constructor law say chaos is the resistance field of the flow system. Change the planet, change the variance, change the morphology of mind. On a high chaos world, the triad branches: prediction, sharing, and persistence. Felt resistance becomes qualia. On an Earth level chaos, the triad doesn't just feel the flow, it steers it. Free will becomes constructal agency. Philosophy without planetary physics is incomplete. Consciousness, only where variance demands compression. Free will, only where the triad reconfigures access before the pulse. CPSEH doesn't solve the hard problem of free will, it relocates them to the exoplanet catalog.